Wraith by William Toney. Chapter 21. Threads Converge. Wright and Eris. A disturbing revelation. The atmosphere in Wright's office was thick with unease. His men stood before him, disheveled and visibly shaken, recounting their harrowing encounter in the alley. Their voices wavered as they described the Wraith, a shadowy figure who moved with unnatural speed and power. "It wasn't human, Mr. Wright," one of the men stammered. "The way he moved, the shadows, it's like they were alive, bending to his will." Wright leaned back in his chair, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. "You sound like children frightened by ghost stories. You're telling me some vigilante scared off my best men?" The man gulped, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge of the desk. "It wasn't just fear, sir. He was like a demon. We couldn't touch him." Eris, lounging on a chaise in the corner, had been quietly listening, her lips curled into an amused smile. But when the men described the figure's voice, low, commanding, dripping with menace, her expression shifted. Her golden eyes flickered with recognition, and her playful demeanor vanished. She rose gracefully, her movements fluid, and fixed the men with a piercing gaze. "Say that again," she demanded, her tone sharp. The men exchanged uneasy glances before one of them hesitantly repeated, "It's like the shadows themselves obeyed him," and his voice, it felt like it was everywhere at once. Eris turned to Wright, her voice low and cold. "You idiot! You've been meddling with powers you can't even begin to comprehend." Wright frowned, unaccustomed to such scorn from Eris. "What are you talking about?" "That," she hissed, pointing at the men, "was Allistor's avatar." Wright blinked, clearly out of his depth. "Allistor? Who the hell is that?" Eris didn't bother to explain. She spun on her heel, her golden gown shimmering as she moved toward the door. "I'm done wasting time here. If Allistor's involved, this game just got far more dangerous." Wright bristled. "Where are you going? We're not finished." She stopped, glancing over her shoulder with a smirk. "You're finished the moment Allistor gets serious. Stay here, Charles. Play your little games. I've got more important things to handle." As she stepped out onto the street, Eris's playful facade returned, but beneath it lay a cold determination. The Wraith, she thought, her lips curling into a sly smile. "Let's see what makes you tick." Lilah's investigation, the voice in the pot. Lilah stood in the museum's dimly lit storage room, her heart pounding as she stared at the brass pot on the shelf before her. It looked ordinary, polished metal, a simple design, but something about it felt wrong. She hesitated, then reached out. Before her fingers could touch the surface, the pot shot off the shelf, skittering across the floor with a loud clang. Lilah gasped, stumbling back as a voice echoed through the room. "Don't!" The single word carried a weight that made her knees weak. She glanced around, but the room was empty. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The voice came again, calm yet commanding. "This one is not for you." Her breath quickened. "What do you mean? Who are you?" "You seek answers," the voice replied. "You seek power, but not from this. Heed my words and follow well, and you shall have the power to save your beloved." Lilah swallowed hard, her mind racing. "Aaron, is he in danger?" The voice didn't answer directly. "Trust your instincts. Follow the path laid before you." She felt a strange pull, an almost magnetic force drawing her out of the room and through the museum's labyrinthine halls. Her footsteps echoed in the silence as she followed the invisible guide. She didn't understand what was happening, but she felt compelled to obey. Aaron and Jason. An unsettling encounter. The night was cold and the streets were unusually quiet. Aaron moved through the shadows, his senses heightened. Allistor's voice echoed in his mind, taunting and teasing. "You're getting sloppy," Allistor chided. "Letting amateurs like those thugs tail you?" "Really, Aaron, I expected better." Aaron ignored him, focusing on the rhythm of his steps. He felt the weight of his conversation with Lilah earlier, her confusion, her worry. She deserved answers, but could she handle the truth? As he turned a corner, Aaron froze. A man stood in the alley ahead, his silhouette sharp against the dim streetlight. He was tall and wiry, with an unsettling intensity in his posture. A hunting knife gleamed in his hand, its edge catching the light. Aaron stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you?" The man turned, his eyes locking onto Aaron with an almost fanatical gleam. "You're him, aren't you? The Wraith." Aaron tensed. "You've got the wrong guy." The man chuckled, the sound low and gravelly. "Don't play coy. I've been watching you, following your work. You're doing something no one else has the guts to do." Aaron's stomach tightened. "You've been following me?" "I want to help," the man said, stepping closer. "You and I, we're the same. We see the rot in this city, and we're doing something about it." Aaron's eyes narrowed. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough," the man countered, his voice firm. "You're cleaning up the filth, but you're too soft. You leave them alive. Me? I finish the job." Aaron's chest tightened with anger. "What you're doing isn't justice. It's murder." The man smirked. "Call it what you want. At least I'm not pretending to be something I'm not." Aaron took a step forward, his voice low and menacing. "Stay out of my way. If I see you again, you'll regret it." The man held his ground, his grin unwavering. "See you around, Wraith." As Aaron turned and disappeared into the shadows, Eris watched from a nearby rooftop, her golden eyes glinting with amusement. "Oh, you're interesting," she murmured, her gaze fixed on Jason. "Let's see how far you're willing to go." Marlowe's investigation, unseen threads. Detective Marlowe leaned back in his chair, his office dimly lit by a single desk lamp. The files before him painted a tangled web of corruption and violence. Marcus's gang, the councilman, and now this mysterious vigilante known only as the Wraith. He rubbed his temples, exhaustion weighing heavily on him. Something wasn't adding up. The connections were there, but the pieces refused to fit neatly together. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. One of his officers stepped in, looking uneasy. "Detective, we've got a lead on the men who attacked that museum curator." Marlowe perked up. "What kind of lead?" "They're connected to Councilman Wright's people," the officer said. "Looks like he's cleaning house." Marlowe frowned, his mind racing. "Right. What are you hiding?" As the officer left, Marlowe stared at the files before him, a sense of unease creeping in. Something was stirring in the city, and he had the sinking feeling it was only the beginning.